going and actually blew out the sidewalk.
And I noticed that, like, we don't have that. I don't have them in the street.
I mean, they actually cleared the sidewalk. I was impressed. My neighbor across the street. Then my where the old mayor lived, the guy that lives there, and between me and him, we always keep the house inside. I've met him once. I don't remember his name. But the other day, it's like I'm sitting in my house, and all of a sudden, it's like I hear something. Look out! He's going by my house. I look at the street, turns around on the street, and goes back the other way. I'm like, so then when I went back out, I went down to his and gave.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
The only reason he comes during the summer is
Fair weather dog, huh?
He's got to be 15 years old.
He don't go out when it's cold. He don't do that. Exactly.
Just throw it in a bag.
Take a square mile.
To be honest with you, when I said a bag, I thought it was grab. Yeah. Actual.
That's right.
Natural bag.
I seen him out in their yard.
I guess it does.
Is that what you use for? Is that what you use for luggage when you travel too?
How you doing today?
I used to, yes, as a college student.
Oh, you were a college student?
Yeah, they made me go to college to see if they could make me smarter, but they don't always succeed.
Yep.
Did you ask for your money back?
Yeah, they refused.
Funny how that works, isn't it? You didn't learn me nothing I wanted to learn.
Nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Everybody else does.
Whatever, fun and things. Russell, yeah, Russell. Yep.
Yeah. No, they were going.
My first trip. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you bet.
People that went more than one time.
Yep. Yep. That's good.
Who's that guy there?
Surviving the winter, that's a plus, right?
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Not one for me?
Okay.
Do you want one? You can have mine.
Usually like one because then I can put it in the packet.
I will give you one after I'm done. Okay.
Perfect.
No, you don't get to know it.
Well, if I shouldn't know, that's
It's
fine. But
It's all secret.
Alrighty then.
I had to adjust our bikes because they were all jammed up in the ground. Hopefully that will look how it's crunching up that one.
Well, Pam run into it.
That's the problem.
Well, that caused a
How
problem.
many miles down the track?
I was steering and I missed.
So they can.
Oh, these things
I
happen.
should say her wheel run into it.
Not
Oh,
yet.
that's a nightmare.
You're running into that one. Good Lord.
It's all heavy and it's more wet. Yep.
Okay, we'll call to order the regular council meeting for Monday, January 25th for the city of Tracy. Start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Had you tell Stacy she has to do the invitation?
That's why you're here.
that's why you're here.
Mayor.
I remember where the door is.
What? Yeah, it's the 24th, not the 25th. Excuse me. Do we have any corrections to the agenda?
We do not tonight, Mayor.
Motion to approve is written.
Second.
Oh, wait a minute. I went too fast. I didn't get my mouth open in time. Can we get on the agenda this ambulance thing and get it taken care of tonight?
It's under public comment.
There's a
I
public,
realize it's under public comment, but I want us to get it into a position where we can settle it, if we can.
How,
I'm just asking if we can do that. I don't know the city government very well.
if you're asking me, because you're both looking in my direction, I would say a couple things. You could certainly have a discussion about whatever you want tonight and get some general direction. Generally speaking, at this point, any money that you give to the ambulance would have to come back as an amendment to the budget with a resolution. So it wouldn't be officially settled. You couldn't officially settle it tonight because we'd have to bring that back to you in written form. Could you discuss it tonight and come to some general conclusions if you wish? Yeah, you could. But I, that's certainly up to you.
do we have all the information that we,
Well,
that's what
that's
I
a
would
different
discuss.
question. I mean, I would suggest if you would like to have a discussion about it, that you put that under Mayor and Council Communications. And if you want to ask me the question about what information we have, at that point, we could certainly do that. Jeff is here because he requested to speak tonight, so he's, here signed under public comment, which is our normal procedure. If you would like to have him make his comment and then have some discussions about it, under Mayor and Council Communication, you can certainly do that too.
I guess I'd like to get it out there and get it taken care of. That's my wish. I've talked to hundreds of citizens, and they've gave me a lot of direction. So I'd like to get it so we can put it to bed at the next council meeting if that's how it is. So I don't know what procedure we got to do to go through that, but that's what I would ask. If we can do that, then let's do that.
So we'll add ambulance under Mayor Council Communications B. And we can discuss it. Is that everything then, George? If
That's
we
the only
add
thing
it-
I had. Yep.
okay, so first and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, the first item on the agenda tonight is the employee of the quarter. Just to remind you and the public, we have 4 employees of the quarter, so this is the employee of the quarter for 2021. The department heads vote on that, all 7 of them, so I don't have to break any ties, and I don't vote, so this is the department head's choice. We had 2 nominees in the 4th quarter, and our employee of the 4th quarter for 2021 is Stacy Stefanik. And I'm gonna let Stacy and her manager Tam come up and talk about Stacy, and we have and then we're going to take some pictures and all that stuff. So do you want to come up first and do that?
Do I get to
Here,
come on up?
You gotta go to the mic though.
you're gonna have to go to the mic.
Oh.
You're gonna have to go to the mic.
So, anyways, do I have to read that sheet thing or not read that sheet thing or? Do we have?
I didn't print
Anyways.
it out. I'm sorry, Tam. You're gonna have to just
Wing it.
extemporaneously talk.
Anyways, couldn't do it without you. I mean, you are. I'm gonna make me cry if I do this. It's like totally appreciate everything you do for the store and do for, yeah. I don't know where to go from that, but very proud of your accomplishments and what you do there and how well you like keep everybody else in line, especially when I'm not there, and take over and fill in. Even when you have other plans that you're supposed to do, you stop them and come in instead. And so, very grateful for everything you do and happy that you can be awarded this today.
Thank you.
So.
You want to take some pictures of the council and the certificate of appreciation, Mayor?
Back here.
You need to crawl all the way to the back. There, you already took my picture today.
Well, it's just twice. Okay. It's a new record.
You got me to get up on, or you just gonna roll over? Yes.
No, I can.
You can sneak to the front.
No, it's your turn.
You guys are doing a horrible job at squeezing in.
Come on, act like you like us.
Come on.
You can.
Y'all sit it down in front of me.
Well, because he never takes me ever cuts off the fat, so.
Right?
I can-
Oh, he will this time, trust me. He knows better.
Trust you?
Yeah.
Do a little bit that way.
He knows better.
I know you can.
That is not 6 feet.
1, 2, 3. 1 more. 1, 2, 3.
Tracy and contest. We don't know yet. Give the hand.
Wonderful little shot.
Congratulations, Tracy. Here, one to Tracy.
We had him do it up here.
Congratulations, Stacy. Thank you.
Way to go, Stacy.
Is there anybody here from the public that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda?
He says I get to talk first. Okay,
Name?
Russell Boyce, and I'm kind of still feel like I'm new to Tracy. I've been here like almost 3 years, I guess, and I just want to, start out with I've been kind of letting people know around town that I'm available to help with technology support issues, and I want to compliment Eric Hansen with his willingness to meet with me on various times, just extemporaneously, and so I've been letting him know about that, and so a lot of times when I stop by, people say, well, we just don't have any need right now for any technology help. But there are a few things that I notice around town that seem to me like it might be things that I could help with. But I'm just trying to let everybody know. And also, I met with the mayor this week, and she was really good about meeting me on short notice. And I was kind of explaining the same thing to her, that I have a big background in taking care of computer and technology things. And I just want to make everybody aware that I'm available, and Eric has my business card, and I gave one to Pam Corman, also the mayor, and so just please don't hesitate to let me know. And I've done some stuff for the library in the past, and it seems like they're also saying that they don't have any needs right now. But I've noticed some things, for example, Wi-Fi issues that could be corrected that I could help with. If you want to know all about my background, I've got russellboyce.com is my web page. It has my resume on it. It goes into great detail. But anyway, so before my time runs out, I want to mention an idea of helping with the library, and my help with. What I'm thinking about is offering a summer program for kids. It could be just videos, but I know NASA, for example, has all kinds of programs that they help support, and it would be free as far as paying for any licensing. And so so I'll talk to Val about making myself available for that in case. And I guess it's not too difficult to get use of that space in the basement of the library. But that's some of my ideas. Eric says I can ask for anything. I can talk about anything I want.
For 3 minutes, absolutely.
I told him. So, I thought, well, gee, I can maybe. Does Tracy want to sponsor another mission to the moon? We just have to raise taxes to like $10 million a piece, and then we can start. But instead of doing that, I want to kind of get the kids involved, and maybe one of those kids will we'll start a trip to,
Okay.
something
Well, Thank
great.
you for coming, and now that
Thank
you've
you.
mentioned it here,
Good luck in your new business.
people on the, if somebody at home is needing some, maybe they'll get hold of you.
Yeah, that would be fine. But mostly, I'm just, the main idea is I don't intend to make money doing it, and I'm willing on a volunteer basis, so that's an important point I should make.
Okay, thanks, Russ.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I'm up next.
yep,
Well, we're back another week, that's fine. Just as a trivia, okay, for everybody. At the last time we were here a couple weeks ago when we talked in the basement of the library over there, at that time it was brought to our attention from the ambulance service that the statement of budget, income, and equity apparently had not been into the office. I don't care why, I don't care who did what got sent, whatever, it doesn't matter. By the next Tuesday, that income, equity statement, everything that's provided through the USDA and was there. So if that's in your packets or whatever you guys get for information, that's fine and dandy. I don't know if you guys have questions about that. You can sure ask if you wish. The way it looks for ours, as far as from our accountant and from the USDA, I would say that we are not able to supply one for 2021, probably until into March. They said it would be at the end of February, 1st of March at the soonest that we could do that. I guess I feel, and what I'm asking is, way back in July or whenever, the ambulance had provided a contract to the city for $30,000 for 1 year of service. If it's the interest of, this is a two-part deal, but it's the interest of to get this taken care of or get it moving forward or whatever. At the time that we talked about this back in October, November, we were trying to get it moving forward. We decided to, kick it down the road until January 6th. We had a meeting January 6th. At that time, it wasn't settled. It wasn't taken care of, which is okay. I get that. Everybody wanted more information. At that time, we were told that this had never been applied to the city office for the last several years. However that happened, I don't know and don't care. Back in 2007, when your wife was the administrative, we went through this very similar thing. At that time, we were told, and as done by statute, we had our lawyer come, give a nice little speech on August 1st, 2007. At that time, this is what's given to the city as a nonprofit. That's what we were informed as far as a legal statute. That's what we are supposed to. So I'm not sure what you need for more information. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. You have 5 years of previous that was given to you. It's my understanding. Everybody was applied that, and everybody has gotten that information. So I don't know if you need any more information or not. All I can recommend, I can't throw a number out and say we will take less or we will do whatever. I can't do that as a single board member. The contract that was put before you was $30,000. Mr. Landite also, I got over 125 people in this book, which looks goofy in this book, but that's the way it is. They've contacted me. They will be here next time if we don't have something in place. We need to get something done here. From a board perspective, and I don't mean it as it's not a threat, it's not anything else, it's not nothing in that way. I very much appreciate the time that was spent on it. I appreciate everything that's moving forward on it. But Tracy Ambulance, as of January 1st, does not have a contract with the city. We currently do with 192 sections with 9 townships around the city. It puts us in an odd position. So if you want to talk about it now or later or after other business, that's fine. Or if you have questions. And I do thank the council and the administrator, everybody too. So.
we'll do it during our commute.
Yep, that's fine. Whatever portion. I didn't know what you got to work in there. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's under?
8B.
8D.
We're ready for you to do your thing, David.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the January 6th and January 10th minutes, approve the municipal accounts payable without breakthrough beverage, approve the municipal accounts receivable, approve the December 27th park board minutes, and approve the local board of appeal and equalization meeting to be set on April 18th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
First, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
First and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Koopman.
Aye.
Towle.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Teigs.
Aye.
Landay.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable for Breakthrough Beverage.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Landay.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Koopman.
Yes.
Jones.
Yep.
Towle.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye. Our next thing is the mayor community consultation, but if it's okay with everybody, can we do the department head so that like Jason can get to his meeting and the rest of them don't have to sit here while we go back and forth about the ambulance? Is that okay with everybody?
Certainly.
Yep.
Okay, Jason?
Good evening. I'll entertain any questions you have on the agenda, or what I put into the agenda packet.
You have another person hired now then, for sure?
No, we're doing a hiring process February 3rd.
Oh, okay, I must have misread that. And hopefully it'll come on board when, if they accept?
I would, if everything works out smoothly, I would hope to have somebody started in training first week of March.
Is it out of the academy or
The 3 candidates we have, yes, are all recent graduates last summer that have recently passed the post-exam.
Chief, how is the public in getting their cars off the road before this last snow? Did you have many problems with that?
Actually, I think the numbers for snow tickets have been down this year, so I think the message is getting out there. You always have the few that know that they need to get it off, but just don't. So,
But no major problems then?
no, I think there was 4 citations over the weekend for blocking snow removal.
I just a question about, you had 4 incidents of mental health related issues. Do you have a place to transfer those folks to for extra help, or what's kind of the procedure on that?
If we identify somebody that's in crisis, we take them out to the hospital here, mostly. Occasionally, if they already have somebody that they regularly see for mental health and they're a regular patient of, say, a Vera up in Marshall, we may take them directly to the Marshall ER so that they can see their own physician.
Any other questions for Jason? Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Tamara?
Want to come up here too?
He'll have me doing it.
We had a great December. Even with the almost $13,000 parts we had to put in our specialty cooler, we still had a great year. They say that 2020 is like a year like no other, and we actually beat it. So sales-wise and stuff, and above cash flow, or our cash flow was way above the budget. I forgot to mention too, we had the auditors come through, and we passed with flying colors, so that was awesome. We have some new events that we're working on for next year, and we're excited about that. So, anything else? Otherwise, you can read it in the, you can see the report, but just we had a great year, and obviously, like everybody else, we've had some staffing issues type of thing with all the sickness isn't going around, and with the merchandise, different vendors being out of merchandise, but our customers, I think, are pretty understanding about the whole thing so far, so we're doing good out there.
You're all doing a great job out there.
Yeah, excuse me. I noticed that there were some notations about inventory control and keeping tabs on your inventory. What, out of curiosity, what's your goal for turning over the inventory? When it comes in on the delivery truck, how quick do you want to turn it over and sell it?
So actually, there's a different inventory for wine, liquor, and beer.
Yeah.
Beer turns over at least a couple times more a year, per year type of thing, but beer turns over faster than liquor and that kind of thing. Our inventory turned over like 6 times this last year, or about 6 times last year, right?
Okay.
Six is the goal, council member. We want to keep the inventory turning 6 times during the year. I think we did 6.7 last year.
Yeah,
So we did a great job.
It's on here.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
One other question. There was a notation that the signage, the improved signage, is going to be postponed for a year because you had to spend money on cooler repairs and so forth.
So yeah, so that specialty cooler cost us almost like $13,000. So, but we're in the budget, I believe, this year, and the school, Carl Campbell and his crew are going to be the ones that are helping work on it. But, so we're hoping to have that sign up this year.
This year yet?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
So it got postponed from last year to this year.
Yeah, that's good. Because I just really think that, we could.
Yeah, I
maybe
think
do a
it's,
little better.
definitely think it's important too.
Yeah, okay, good.
You know, it was awesome. Today we had another customer. You can always tell the new ones when they walk in because they look for the beer because they don't realize the beer cave's at the other end. And he's like, oh, I'm just passing through. It's like perfect because that's exactly what we want to hear. I mean, we love our in-town customers, but that's why we moved to the highway, is to help boost sales and catch people going by too, so.
So, Tim, at some point then the council is going to see what you're envisioning for that signage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can do that. Yep, definitely. We want to carry through the rustic type, that we've already got going out there, so that's kind of the road we're heading down, but for right now.
Good.
Any other questions? We're good?
Mayor, I just want to say that Tam's being modest, but this was far and away the best year the liquor store's ever had. It's not even close. We exceeded our bottom line budget by $20,000, and if we had hit our budget, it would have been the biggest bottom line we've ever had. And so it really, it speaks to Tam's effort and Stacy and everybody else that works at the liquor store too, but it's really phenomenal, as well as the city council's decision to move it to the highway in the first place. Far and away justifies that. All the extra money that was spent on it has already been returned back to the city. It makes a big difference because I think it's $80-some thousand is what our bottom line profit was, which is almost a 10% return, which is above what the industry standard of 8% would be. So it's just really, really good, and I want you to know that, and I want the public to know it too, because it's important.
Thank you, City of Tracy, for supporting our liquor.
I was going to say, and on top of that, it's like thanks for our customers for making it happen to be able for us to give back to the city.
Absolutely.
So that's our whole goal there, is to help give back to the city.
Good job.
Great job, Tamara and crew in the City of Tracy. Krista, Shane, which one of you would like to go next?
Crystal off.
Well, hopefully everyone got a chance to read my report. I guess highlight is the old fire truck and the snow truck are gone. And if you looked in the report, it was $10,128 between the two trucks that we received, and I think 50 cents. So that was good to have them out of the way and move on. Ice rink is up and going, and thanks to Mother Nature, we got a pretty good solid layer of ice there now, so it's got to be a good 7-8 inches thick. So it's been tough the last couple days trying to keep it clean with the wind blowing in 4 different directions, but we had a little bit of snow to move over the weekend, and I'll be cleaning up downtown in the morning. Just kind of clean up while there's no cars around, so we kind of drifted in a little bit since Saturday. So other than that, do you have any questions for me?
How is the snow removal going out at Orchard Lane for you? Working real good?
For us, it's all right, yeah. Just a little bit, we had a little conversation last week as far as just maintaining the sidewalks after we're done with Lydell, and say he's going to be moving on in about a month, so we'll have to deal with that transition. But say it's this last storm, I haven't heard any complaints on my end anyway. So
Does he do the driveway things?
we do those. Yeah, we do the initial shoveling and cleaning the driveway, and then we just drag it all out to the road and then push it to the end. But and then he just kind of maintains it on Saturdays and Sundays when they're not normally around. So.
Shane, I appreciate your efforts to get certification on as a wastewater operator. And I'm just wondering if you're on vacation or gone, or some of the other guys, are they able to fill in for you?
Yeah, right now, so the wastewater certification I've had, it's the water certification that I just tested for, which I haven't got the results yet. But it sounds like the state certification guy is going to be out till Wednesday, but I still have a couple people in town that are certified, so we're covered for now. Hopefully I'll know soon, by the end of the week. I'll pass that along to Eric when I get that. But the weekend rounds, they're always done by the person on call, so they're familiar with checking the wells, just make sure everything's up with the chemicals and the daily usage, and if anything's out of line. And say, I don't think I had a problem passing the certification, but say something I check periodically. But Al went on vacation he's gone a week and a half right before Christmas, and actually through Christmas. So I mean, he's been gone plenty of times in the past, and we know what to do. So.
And that's okay with the state?
Yep. As long as they have a certified operator assigned to the city, and then just that operator has to oversee all those people. So.
Can I jump in here just for
Yep.
a second? Because I want to clarify this for the city council, because this is really, really important. Okay, our water system requires us to have a Class C operator sign off on everything that we do. That includes the reports that we sent to the state and everything else. If we do not, and assuming that Shane passed his result, you will passed his test. We'll have that, at some point here shortly. If we do not have a Class C water operator license on staff, that means we have to find somebody else to do it, which our options are basically to contract with somebody else to sign off on that. Hire somebody else, which we're trying to do, but that's a difficult thing, because this is this is a narrow field with not very many people who have this, and you have to have it specifically. You can't just go out and have somebody take the test, because you have to have a certain amount of time working with the system before you can even test for a D first and then a C. So you can't just go get it or take a test and get it. You have to have experience in order to make that happen. So we've been knowing that this is coming for a while, but we're working on the issue. But it's not just simply a matter of, can someone fill in while Shane is gone? We have to have the person to have this license to sign off. Otherwise, our water system is out of compliance with the state, and we can get fined. So this is a serious issue. I want you to know that we're on top of it, though. And I'm sure, because I have every confidence that Shane, passed the test, that we're going to be fine. But if we don't, we'll contract with someone else who can sign off on the reports. And so everything is going to, go smoothly. But But, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, for a period of time to try to figure this out. There's potentially a budgetary impact too, just so you know, because if we can't find somebody at the current rate, we might have to offer more, and that might mean we have to come back to you, ask for more money. Or if we have to contract with somebody, that might mean too. So just so you know. But this is, this is an issue and we're on it.
So in all reality, Shane passes, he has his Class C. We can hire somebody.
Yep.
How long do they need to train, work under you before they
So-
can sit for the Class D?
So there's different options. So a Class D doesn't do us any good. Obviously, it's experience. If you get someone with a Class D, say someone came from another town and had a Class D, and they worked for that town under a Class D for 2 years, they only have to work for us for 1 year under our system to be eligible for a Class C. So it's 1 year. You can either go to school. It's a 1-year school. I know St. Cloud offers it, and I think Peggy said Ely has a training up there too. And I'm not sure what the tech school is there, but so there's the only 2 in the state that offer the schooling for it. It's a 1-year program. Then at the end of that 1-year program, they usually take the certified for the water and the wastewater at the end, but they usually come out of there with a D. And then you have to work 3 years after the D before you can go to a C. Otherwise, you can work for 1 year to get a D, but then it's 3 years.
We want to hire somebody with a C right off the bat is what we want to do.
Yeah.
Well, many years back, didn't the city of Tracy contract with People Services to help fill
Yep.
in? Are they
That's-
open to that, or you haven't checked?
Yes.
Yeah, you'll end up paying probably double what we're paying now for an operator.
It's either that, or you don't get to take a vacation for 3 years?
Yeah.
Is that the way I understand
The
it?
operator can still leave because there's a lot of operators that have, people within their system doing, because the operator position has, the work orders, installing water meters, doing the water meter route, utility locates. It's not just running a plant. It's all the other little things that, those are easily delegated out because a lot of them don't require a certification. But as far as the plant and the operations, the operator has to overlook all of that operation. They can have other people do testing. They can have other people do, their meter readings and filling chemicals, and as long as the operator has oversight over what's going on at all times. And then all of the state reports, whether it's monthly, quarterly, they all have to be signed off by an operator. So everything getting reported to the state is done by the operator himself. So, but like People Service, they supply multiple cities. A lot of times they'll have an operator assigned for each, but it probably kind of depends on the system. But you can have one operator on more than one community too. So.
Well, that would get us off the hook if you do need to leave for extended period of time.
The issue, council member, is not him not being there. The issue is that you have to have a name on we're certified as a Class C plant with the state. A name of someone who is a Class C operator or above has to be on that license. So it doesn't matter if they're here or not.
Yep.
It's the name that we need to have associated with it. And then that name is the name you use to file the reports. So it's not an issue of being present. It's an issue of you have to have a person associated with that plant.
Is Al still around?
No, Al's last day was Friday, but he's still around town, and I've talked to him, and he's still kind of our Class C operator for now, but say he's not going to be around, past the end of the month. I think early February he's heading south, so that's...
But this is an issue long term because we really need to have backups for every single thing that we do, because this is not the first or only time this is going to happen. So, having Shane have this kind of certification and then bringing some other people in that also have certifications is going to help us, because then we won't run into this situation again. So, but in the short run, it's a dilemma. But
yeah.
Shane and I talked about it this morning, and Shane's, I think, has a pretty good plan for how to deal with it. So
Construction season will change things. That's when it really gets rough because the amount of utility locates gets a little crazy when construction season starts. So other than that, I did put in a report too. I think it was 28 burials and 9 lots sold last year for the cemetery. I know in the past when they had a cemetery board, they did an annual report to the council, but I mean they don't do that anymore. I try to put that in the report at the end of the year. So that's all I have, unless anyone has anything else.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for all the hats you
So this month I have a pretty quick report. I will provide a 2021 unaudited financial report probably next meeting to include a budget amendment for the end of 2021 to clean up the rest of the year. As far as my update today, for utilities, we again just had a small handful of customers that were in the position to be shut off last month. I believe they are all back on. I think when it came down to it, only 1 or 2 were actually shut off, and then within a day or 2 they were all back on. So Chris has really been working on that. She's making a lot of phone calls, staying on top of account balances to not allow those to get super far behind, especially with final bills. As far as licensing goes, our driver's license revenue was down a little bit this year, which is what I was expecting through the end of the year. Again, just because the real ID and the enhanced IDs, that date got pushed out into 2023. Marshall also no longer requires appointments at their licensing center, so we don't see as much traffic from that area. They can just pop in now without an appointment. Our motor vehicle and DNR business both were up 11 to 12% over 2020, so we continued to see an increase in business there.
Krista, is the increase in motor vehicle revenue, is that due partly to the increased value of vehicles?
That's a good question. I would have to do some digging on that. I don't know exactly. I know from a purely transactional standpoint, we processed more transactions than we did, but I didn't look at a percentage between the two to see. I can look at it. And then as far as our cash position goes, we carried a pretty decent cash balance all year in 2021. So I am looking at options and working with Ehlers for investing some of that balance in 2022 so that we actually can make some money on it instead of having it just sit in a checking account. So when I get that completed, we'll bring that to the council as well. So any questions for me right now?
I wonder if, because, would you be able to, I don't know if you have any of the information in front of you, is like, tell, like, the report that you did or about the ambulance thing?
Yeah. Yep, that's what I grabbed my computer for, so I do have it.
do you want to wait until we get to that discussion so that it's in context?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I sure can. Anything else? Okay.
What's DNR stand for?
Department of Natural Resources.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, we're short a couple department heads tonight. We have one sick and one who's at a band concert for a child. So, forgive those. If you have any questions about the library or economic development, let me know. A couple things I want to point out on my report, which I sent to you via email and was also handed out to you tonight. One is that this magazine that you got in front of you that maybe sometimes you don't always read, but if you turn to page 21, This magazine is Minnesota Cities Magazine. It's put out by the League of Minnesota Cities quarterly, and it talks about everything that's going on in the state with cities. And on page 21, the city of Tracy is featured for our work on the comprehensive plan, which is pretty cool because it's not very often that we get highlighted for the good work that we're doing in a statewide publication. We put it out on social media and it's on our website so people can read it too. But, you know, I want, you should feel good and the community should feel good that the kinds of things that we're doing are being recognized by, you know, our peers throughout the state. And so it's kind of a neat thing.
That was a nice article.
So the other thing I want to point out in my report is something new. I'd given a presentation last December about the Community Artists in Residence program, which is a program that we are part of. It's not costing us anything, but it's essentially being done through a grant through the Southwest Minnesota Arts Coalition. Some of the folks, and we had kind of a first meeting of that group of people last week. Ashley Hansen came down, as well as the Southwest Minnesota arts people, and led a discussion with some community members about, you know, how we can utilize the arts in town to help promote the city and economic development and, you know, beautification and things like that. And that's going to be a 6-month kind of process with a series of meetings, and then at the end they'll have some recommendations that they bring back to City Council, and, you know, we can decide if that's something we want to, you know, continue with or not. But I wanted to let you know that that has started to happen as a follow-up to my presentation from last month. With that, are there any questions about anything that's happening in the city? I'd be happy to answer it if I can. We are, as of today, back to full strength. Now, yes. That doesn't mean we're at full strength throughout the city, but in that office we are currently full strength. Yes, we've been hit, you know, with illnesses throughout the city. You know, without being too specific, because I don't want to violate anybody's privacy. But, you know, it's your guess. You know, is as good as anybody else's about what's going on. But if it's forced us to shut down the liquor store at different times, programming at the Eagles at different times, portions for the driver's license at different times, and this is just kind of the nature of the world that we live in right now. And I guess I would ask for people's patience. You know, we're following guidelines where people we want them to stay home, and, you know, we follow guidelines for, you know, CDC recommendations and the state of Minnesota requirements and things like that. So we're just kind of doing the best we can, and so we appreciate your patience and the citizens' patience for what's going on right now.
So the city offices are back to full strength?
We're back to full strength in the main office, yes. Yep. Everybody is there and well.
Eric, regarding the Center Street project,
right,
which we're going to be doing with Lyon County.
Yes.
And it's, as I understand, it's still targeted for this year.
It still is.
Okay. Any word on the county when they're going to be seeking bids or awarding bids? Or
those bids will be ours.
They will.
Yeah. So we're the project manager on that. So we'll do all the bidding. We had a meeting. Shane and I had a meeting with Kyle Renicky, our engineer, about this a couple of weeks ago. We're having a little bit of trouble with rural development, who's managing the project, because they want to get the ponds decommissioning piece done first before they talk about Center Street. We got comments back from Jim Hammer at the federal level on things, and this is normally about the pond decommissioning. This is normally what they do. They come back with comments. We have to reply back. So they have to approve everything before we can move forward. So we have to do the ponds decommissioning bidding first, which we think is going to happen in February. Okay. Once that gets approved and things are bid, then rural development will start looking at Center Street. We got ahead of the game because we did the surveying for that, but we're still hoping yet to bid that this year. If things start to slip a little bit, we're going to have to go back and ask for an extension on the project. But they won't do more than one thing at a time. It's driving us crazy, but that's just what the federal government is hamstringing us with at the moment.
Okay, but ideally, we'll see construction on Center Street at least beginning this year.
Ideally, yes, that's correct.
Okay, but not certain. Not certain by any means, it sounds like.
Well, I mean, nothing is certain but
No.
death and taxes, I guess. But I suppose you could say that's a little bit of a warning that might slip a little bit. We're hoping not, but if they keep coming back with things to us, on the engineering level and on the pond decommissioning, yeah, it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we do Center Street, we're not narrowing it, are we?
No,
Okay.
it'll be the same width and footprint that it is now.
Because it seems like some of the city streets that we've redone with cars parking, it's tight.
All of the streets are being standardized at 32 feet, with a
realize that.
couple of the exceptions that you know about, and so that's a pretty wide city street generally. A lot of city streets in urban areas are more narrow than that. They don't have as big of trucks as they do out here, but
It just
That
seemed
was-
kind of narrow to me.
that was a
I guess.
joke.
Yeah.
Maybe people park further away from the curb with the snow there too, I don't know.
A lot of times, what traffic engineers will tell you is that narrow streets are better, because what happens is that people have to slow down because they won't drive as fast on a wide street. And the thing that you're concerned about most on residential streets is pedestrian and car interactions, because that obviously cars hitting people is not a good thing. And so when you narrow the streets down, when you have narrower streets in residential areas, that's better for pedestrian safety because people drive slower. Any other questions, Councilman?
Yeah, I was glad to see that we're doing a little refurbishing up on the VMC's second floor.
We've done some, yeah. We repainted and replastered the front hallway area, and we'll do more one way or the other, either through a grant that we applied for using the money from that we got from the county for the lift. If we don't get that, then we'll still do some in there in terms of painting and tearing out some of the damaged tiles and things like that. It's easy to slap a can of paint on something that looks a heck of a lot better.
But generally, if I understand this correctly, we're not, putting new walls up or that
No.
kind of thing. It's just if there's several people who have an at-home business, maybe they can put up some room dividers and put up a
No,
computer.
we actually would put up some walls under the plan. If the plan is funded by the federal government through a grant, again, this isn't costing us anything in the city, since the county is providing the match. It will include some additional walls. Yeah, we'll end up putting probably the EDA, maybe the chamber up there, plus having some conference rooms. So if you have like an at-home business and want to do like a video meeting or something like that, and things like that, so it would be all kind of wired for video and things like that. And so it's kind of part and parcel to the grant we currently do have, where we're helping businesses in town, with websites and social media and stuff like that. Kind of the big picture on that is, from an economic development standpoint, we want to try to take advantage of this idea that more people are working remotely today. So if you're going to work remotely, why wouldn't you want to come to a community like the city of Tracy, where the housing cost is less and it's safer and you have good schools and things like that, as opposed to paying 3 times as much, in the Twin Cities or wherever. And so trying to position ourselves that way, that's kind of a strategy for, how you grow the city.
Okay, so in other words, then if, let's say there's a private web designer who wants
Yep.
to use some space up there, then he would be renting from the city?
Yeah, that would be conceptually the idea, yes, is that we would charge some kind of fee associated with that, but we haven't determined what that is yet. That's something we'd have to bring back to you.
Right.
But yes, that's the idea. Yep.
Okay.
What did you say about the money from the county for the lift? That you're looking at putting that towards something else?
No,
versus
that
the
would be
lift?
towards, part of this project includes the lift.
Okay.
So basically, we would build the lift and then remodel the second floor, but the money that we got from the county for the lift is being used as the match. It's an 80-20 deal. So 80% paid for by the feds, the 20% being paid for the money we got from the county for the lift. Yeah.
Okay, and I just have one other item, and that was on the code enforcement. Sounds like the software's in place for the enhanced effort on code enforcement, and we'll be kind of ready to hit this ground.
Yeah, this will be
spring.
something that'll be a bigger point of emphasis come spring and into summer. This beautification piece, particularly code enforcement. One of the things that Shane and I have talked about doing, and I think we're going to bring this back to you sometime next month, maybe March, is we want to do a video tour of Highway 14. I know there was some discussion about, how Highway 14 looks and, kind of rusted signs and things like that. And so we plan on kind of driving along and kind of showing you what that looks like. And what I want Shane to do in that presentation is kind of point out, okay, this is a code violation. This is a problem here. This is an issue with this building, or this is a nuisance issue, that kind of thing. And we want to kind of give you a sense for what we'd be looking at doing. Because as soon as we start enforcing some of these codes more stringently, that's going to generate calls, particularly from business owners. And so we want to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page about what we're looking to do before we start doing it. But that's kind of our thought, kind of moving forward ultimately. As we start to just take some pictures and video first, show you what that looks like, get a sense from you as, yep, that's the direction we want to go, and then, start doing it.
Good.
Yep.
Is that the same policy you think you'll be doing for the residential?
Yeah, their policy doesn't differentiate between residential and commercial. Yeah, I mean, they're both subject to the same kinds of, in fact, there's some specific commercial things that are a little bit different. So yeah, we're not going to say because you own a business that means that you don't have to follow the code, Any other questions? Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Okay. So,
Ambulance.
You got to do your
Or do you want to do the
proclamation.
proclamation on the school choice
no, I'll
first?
do that afterwards. So that
Okay. All right.
I'll do that afterwards.
What would you like to, Councilmember Landon asked a question. Would you like us to outline what we received, and then maybe Krista could come up and talk about what she put together? Would that be an okay course of action?
Well, my first question is, and you can come up, that's fine. I'm not quite figured out why, other than the paper they already are supposed to supply, is why we need more information from the ambulance since they're a private business.
That's a good question. I will answer that question. So in 2017, when we signed the last ambulance contract, the same contract that they want us to sign, again for 2022, it was a 5-year contract, $140,000. There was a section 12 in there, and I'm going to read you the words. So it says ambulance, says annual report. It says ambulance shall maintain in accordance with accepted accounting practice during the term of this agreement records and books of account recording all transactions connected with the operations of ambulance, and shall prepare and file with the city on or before March 30th each year an annual financial statement of the annual ambulance operations, including showing income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. So to answer your question, council member, the reason why is because we have an agreement with them that says that they will. And they signed that agreement, and the mayor at the time signed that agreement as well. What we received from them is we've received reports from 2016 to 2020. There were reports they filed with the state. They include all of their income and their expenses, and so that covers kind of the first two part of it. The income and the expenses for the ambulance service. We don't have 2021, of course. Jeff already said that earlier, that they don't have that yet, so we don't have 2021, but you have 16 through 20. What we do not have, that they are contractually obligated to provide to the city, is a statement of assets and liabilities, which is basically a balance sheet. And so the report they gave to us before was a profit and loss statement, And what they have not provided to us is a balance sheet. That information that they file with the state, they're not required to give to us as a general course of action. They're only required to give this information because we have an agreement with them that says that they will provide it to us. And so you can decide as a council if you have enough information, but what I'm telling you is the agreement we have with them says they will provide certain things, not all of which we have yet. And so we received that information that we have in terms of the profit and loss statement. And what we did was we took that information and I asked Krista to kind of analyze it, in terms of what that means. And so that is the other spreadsheet that you have in front of you. And I'm going to let Krista kind of walk you through that and what that means.
Do you all have a copy of that spreadsheet?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Otherwise I can project it too. But so what I did was I took the reports that the ambulance service provided to us, that RD 442 report, and just broke it out by year on a spreadsheet, just so easy to compare year over year. What Eric had requested that I do is look at expenses more from an operating perspective. So I took out bad debt and depreciation. Those really, they are expenses from a P&L reporting standpoint. They're not cash flow related operating for the year. So by taking those out, that net operating income or loss year over year is what they're showing, taking out the bad debt and the depreciation piece of that. I did also take out in their reports, they reported $28,000 from the city from 17 to 20. I did take that out as well, just to, as a comparison piece, where they're landing without the support of the city. Anything else that would be important to point out that off the top of your head?
No, that's it. Essentially, we wanted to get to a sense for, okay, what does their operation look like without any contributions from the city on a pure, cash flow basis? Because and this is just this is an important accounting thing when we're talking about bad debt and depreciation. So when you buy a building, you can depreciate plant, property, and equipment. So your buildings, your land, your large equipment purchases, and you depreciate those over a period of years. So rather than taking the expense off the top of your P&L right off the bat, you take it over a per years, generally in a straight line fashion. And so depreciation isn't actual money out of your pocket. It may have been money out of your pocket previously, in previous years, but it's not money out of your pocket this year. So one of the things that we wanted to find out was, we've been told by the ambulance service that they're struggling, that their expenses are going up, and they without the support of the city, they can't afford to do their job. And so we wanted to know, okay, what is the actual situation with the ambulance service? Can they, afford to do their job? What does that actually look like? And so that's why we wanted to get down to that kind of cash, basis. That's the only other thing I would add about that.
Yep.
So, do you want to walk through what that report says, or
yeah,
do we have?
I certainly can. So year over year, I did put the percentages in there as far as operating income each year. From 2017 to 18, their operating income increased about 9%, 8.5%. And then from 18 to 19, it was 1%, and then 19 to 20 was 10.8%. Obviously, you can see an increase in grants from 19 to 20. I'm assuming that's probably COVID related. A lot of COVID grants in 2020. Excuse me. And as far as operating expenses go, they saw an increase of about 3% from 17 to 18, 7% to 18 to 19, and 7.6% from 19 to 20. So yes, operating expenses are increasing. but not at the same rate as revenue. Revenues were increasing more than operating expenses for the most part, with the exception of 2019. Revenues were increasing over expenses.
In this report, where does it show the money that supposedly, I mean, maybe they're not, I don't know, the money that they're tucking away for replacement costs?
See,
Like
this,
another new ambulance or whatever.
this report wouldn't show that because this is just strictly that year's money coming in, money going out. Having a balance sheet would show that detail for us. As far as maybe a cash position, or if they have different, if the ambulance, I don't know if they have funds, they have a specific fund that would show how much they're saving each year.
That's the piece of information, council member, that we've requested, that the contract requires them to give us. That's why we can't answer that question. We don't have it.
To me, that'd be, I don't know, I'm sure they're doing that, or I'm hoping they're doing that, because they're going to have to replace these rigs sometime. Yeah. And they can't wait till the very minute they got to do it to say, oh my, we got to come up with this money, so.
Yeah.
Can you answer that, Jeff? Can we let him answer it or not?
If you'd like him to answer it, I will say this.
I'd like to get the answer.
I will say this. If you look at the bottom of the statements that they received to us, it shows their total net position of about $600,000 at the end of 2020. And ultimately, my guess is that since they had about $500,000 in cash flow to that entire time, that a good portion of that $600,000 represents cash. But I can't say that for sure. Perhaps Jeff can answer that question.
Would you like to help me answer that, Jeff?
I can tell you a percentage of it is, but I can't tell you exactly how many dollars. What we're required, like I say, and I appreciate all the other info you did, whatever else. You can take your figures and you can figure them out in 6 different ways and tell us what we got and whatever else. I get it. The sheet that's provided by the USDA, that'll be the only sheet that you're going to receive. I understand back in 2017, whatever agreement they made, I don't have that agreement in front of me. I can't tell you what they agreed at that point in time. I would say that the contract going forward, okay, we currently don't have a contract. So, I mean, are we null and void on the contract? I don't know. It's already expired. You know, it already expired as of January 1st or December 31st. So, I guess I feel, I mean, I don't know how the city council or the administrator feels about it, but I would say that the council moving forward, this sheet is what they're going to get. I don't know what they're going to get in 4 other papers or whatever else. I will tell you this, from my point of view, this is what I was handed, and it's not that I don't appreciate it. Okay, this is what I was handed from the city. I don't know who made it. I don't care who made it.
That's not a city document.
Nope, it's not.
It's a document that was created by somebody else outside the city. I do not know.
Yep, exactly, and that's fine. No problem at all. But when you hand this to a poor colorblind guy, it is a problem. Because the blue and the black, I can't tell apart. So I was sitting at that meeting a couple weeks ago. That's why I look all dejected on that paper, sitting here looking at this, trying to figure out what it was. I had to get it in just the right light to read a bunch of this. So it was a very hard document for me to pull out and say, when I was being asked questions on it, how am I supposed to pull these numbers off here when I can't read them? Which is not anybody's fault.
But we got those numbers from the ambulance.
This
spreadsheet is what we
right.
got from the ambulance. It wasn't us that created it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this side.
Right.
It's exactly right, council member, and I apologize. It may not be my place to interject, but not only was that spreadsheet given to us by the ambulance, not only was it confusing, but when we started actually getting the real numbers, the numbers on there are actually mislabeled. There's some things on there that appear to be income that are labeled as expenses based on our information that we received from them the last time. So all of this could have been resolved if we had received the information 4 months ago when we asked for it. So I'm not sure what the hurry is at this point.
I am sure that they ever have a contract, and we need to get this
We
set.
don't have a contract. As of right now, we don't have a contract for the ambulance.
Well, that doesn't mean they won't service us, but we need to get it right. And just,
Well, that's what we're trying to do, George, is get it right.
And I, to answer Eric's question there, or statement, you know, if there's something wrong on here, I guess I'm not aware of it. Whatever else. It wasn't in a format that I was accustomed to, for whatever reason. I know that this one from the USDA, I am accustomed with. That's what was provided for us, that was provided for the cities for many, many years. That's what will be continued to be provided to the city. It's a profit and loss statement, that's what has to be provided legally as a nonprofit entity.
I don't have that statement in front of me, I don't think. On that statement, does it say how much?
Those are the.
No, that's what he's talking about.
Yes, you have it in front of you.
You have it in front of you somewhere in the packet. We had provided that 5 years of that.
You have it.
Yep, it was provided 5 years of those particular reports. I don't know where you got it in the
I'm
packet, but it's
talking
there
about the
somewhere.
one Jeff's holding in his hand, I guess.
And why would we have that? Because we weren't prepared to do that tonight.
Well,
Right, no,
but let's
Yeah.
get back to my question. Can you answer, do you have money stuck away for new?
we have some put away for ambulance replacement, yes. Initially, we had talked about doing that in 2023. That was also brought up at the last meeting. Our potential, what we're looking at, depending on how many miles are put on two of our other ambulances, we're planning on replacing the next one, which we replace every 3-4 years, to replace one, to keep updating all the time,
Yeah, I understand.
in 2023. Yes,
So do you have enough money to cover that?
not right at the moment. Hopefully by then we will. So,
Well,
but the ambulance is over 300,000. It's not like
Yeah.
we can go out and buy one for, you know, oh, you can spend 40,000 to buy a new ambulance. It doesn't work that way. By the time that's equipped, sitting there, certified, ready to go, it's well over $300,000 sitting on 4 tires.
But by the end of 2022, you'll think you'll have enough to pay for that one? Is that what you're saying?
Projected plan, yeah, that's projected plan, yes,
in that
And
projected
it'll-
plan, you're expecting 30,000 from the city.
correct. That was a piece in the plan, yes.
So, I don't know, I don't want no more phone calls from the city people. I understand we need an ambulance. They need $30,000 to operate, just like they went to the townships and said we need X amount of dollars to operate. I think we just need to do it.
Do you see how the townships are paying $22,000 between all of them?
To address that question,
Oh, here it says 22, I don't know.
to address that question.
That was in 15. I don't know where that number. If you look through, it's like 9,000, 10,000, 10,000,
Well, how come
12,000.
theirs went down and ours went up?
No, it didn't go down. Our per section charge went up. To address that question, okay, you had asked before, or one of them on the council, I know that Jerry Shones had before, and I think the mayor had also. You guys, when you were going through that spreadsheet to figure out by the people, by the percentage of the people, we had about 1,000 people. That was roughly. I'm not saying right down to the perfect, single person. We had approximately 1,000 people in the 192 square miles that are covered in the outside in the 9 townships. And those numbers are on here somewhere. I don't know where they're at right at the moment on this. There was approximately 2,000 people. We had paid $14,700 for the outside for the townships. That's why it was split out, approximately a third, a third, a third. If you have 2,000 people in the town, you're going to come up with about 30,000. Because if you're trying to space it out by the number of people, not necessarily by the space or by the area covered, but you're covering it by the amount of people that are covered. And I thought we had that all went through and answered before, but
Well, I know, but it's like on this report,
okay.
the one dated 12/31/16, the townships were 23, and then by the time you get to 2020, they're 12.
I don't have all of those reports, so
So the townships here is 2022, or 22,000.
By the time you get to 2020, the townships is 12.
Okay, so what is it at? Okay, at 16, what's it at 17 and 18?
Here,
What are
do you want to look at it on here?
23,000 and 9,000 and 10,000.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure why that number changes that much, but.
I mean, if you don't look at the oldest one, the one from 2016.
Correct.
You don't look at that one, that's like double the townships. If you look at the other ones moving forward, they're more in line with what you are saying. They're the 9,000, then the 10, and
Right.
then the 12.
Right, and then they
now
had gone
you're
up.
saying, on this one, you're saying 14,700.
Correct.
So that first
I
one,
don't,
look
like I
at
say,
it
I don't
as-
know why that is, unless it's wrong on there, so I
Yeah, I
can't,
mean, I think that's.
I can't say that.
Some reason an outlier. I don't
Right.
You
know.
can throw that one out, because it don't make sense.
No. No.
But I guess where I'm sitting here trying to figure out is, okay, I understand you're charging the townships $75 a section.
85.
Well, this says 75.
It will be going to 85 for next year, coming up.
So when
So
we
currently
get
it's
this
at 75.
When we get this sheet for 2021, it'll be the 14,700.
Correct.
That's the 75.
Correct.
And then.
Got to get all the numbers which year you're
Yeah,
talking about. I know.
I know.
Yep.
I mean, nowhere on here did you mention 85.
No, but it's going to be going up. I know that. Yeah.
Jeff, could you just expand upon and give the reasons for the ambulance board's concern about operating without a contract? Could you just address that?
Our one person that had told us, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot here, one person that told us that was our accountant, did not recommend doing forward. That was their opinion without a contract in place. A lawyer that we had contacted, back in 2007, we had had Jim Garvin. Obviously, he's retired and moved on. We'd contacted another lawyer since then. Their idea was not real favorable without a contract in place. Part of their deal is they would not recommend if say, a city employee or whatever, if a city employee or a fireman or somebody else got there, not that it will be a problem, but potentially it could be if there was a problem. We transported them and that person, for whatever, did not want to be transported by a Tracy ambulance. What do? We don't have contract. I mean, within the city limits right now, we are operating without a contract.
But you still have your laws and regulations.
We still in the PSA area. I know exactly.
We're supporting you, Jeff, is what the contract is saying is financially, how are we going to support you? As
Correct.
far as you offering service to the citizens, I'm sorry, I think citizens are being scared here for no reason. Because
That's
you
fine.
still have laws and regulations. You have to answer calls.
Yep.
You have to transport patients. I mean, the contract has nothing to do with that part.
Okay.
And that's the part that's kind of getting under my craw a little bit, is the citizens are being scared that they're not going to have an ambulance respond to their 911 call here because we don't sign a contract. That's bull.
Okay. And that's your opinion. That's great.
Well, I guess I wish our lawyer was here because...
Jerry, we looked at this.
Yep.
Minnesota state law requires that as long as they have a license, that they service a particular area with no exception. Their license was renewed on January 1st, 2022, and it's a 2-year license. This agreement is about how much we're going to pay them, not whether or not we have ambulance service in the city of Tracy. We will have ambulance service in the city of Tracy whether we pay them or not. And I want to point out that the staff's recommendation and the city council's acceptance already was that we pay them. The question is how much. Okay, so the argument is not about that we pay them at all, it's how much. That is why you requested the information that you did. That is why this exercise that we're going through in terms of understanding their financials is because it's a question of how much do they actually need. And when we're talking about taxpayers' dollars here, the citizens need to know that when we give money to a private nonprofit, that they're getting their money's worth and that it's money well spent. Because if we give them $30,000 a year, that has to come from something. It has to come from some other service that the city can't provide, or a piece of equipment that we can't buy, or a position that we can't hire for. So there's nothing free here.
Okay. Some of the comments that I've been told from people is that we donated money to the Wheels Across the Prairie, which they think is great. But they would rather see that $4,000 that we gave to the Wheels, to the ambulance,
We could do that.
but they also finished by saying, we think the Wheels is important and it's good that the city does that, but don't hold the ambulance hospitals because you don't have money to pay the contract that they're having the townships all pay.
The townships here in 2022 is what this says, is $75 a section.
Do it by the people.
I did, if you let me continue. Because we can't do sections for the city of Tracy. So I went up and I looked up here. You know, Jeff, you don't have this, but I've got
No,
it.
it's fine, go ahead.
Well, you
Just-
got the big one. You got the
yeah,
big one. That's
correct.
easier to read. I went up to the population as percentage served.
Yep,
Up to where the total is 3444.
okay.
Okay. And we went through this part at the library.
At the, yep,
part
yep,
where-
yep,
okay.
that was discussed over there,
Yeah.
correct.
So if you go down to table 4, down to, oh my God, I should have brought my readers.
Yeah.
P,
What it comes down to is,
down here where it says it's 62.8% is what the city of Tracy's population would be.
okay,
So,
so roughly it's a third,
yeah.
right?
So if I sat there and took your 2022 fee schedule,
Okay,
and for all the townships, they're going to pay $14,700
okay,
because that adds up to 37.1%, according to the numbers on this sheet.
okay,
So if we're 62.8%, they're paying 14.7. Our fair share would be 24,883. I guess I'm sitting here because that's what I need is hard numbers.
right.
Now, people can disagree with how I did my numbers, but I did it based off population and everything so that we would be paying the same percentage as the townships. Because I don't want you having problems with townships
Yep,
saying, well, the city of Tracy wasn't willing to
Yep.
pay, so we're not going to pay as much either.
right.
I want us to be on equal ground.
Yep.
Because I do want to support the ambulance.
Yep.
I want you to be supported by the
Yep.
townships too.
Yep.
But I just want it to be fair.
Yep, and I appreciate that part. To go along with that, when the ambulance talked about this, part of the thing that we do as an in-kind service is we go out on, with all the fire calls, we go out on a bunch of accidents, we charge nothing for that, unless we transport
But
somebody.
as a nonprofit, don't you have to do community service or things to show that why you have your nonprofit status is part of that? I mean, we do as a hospital.
Correct.
We have to show that we go out and do different things and don't charge for it. We do classes, we do.
Yep, I was gonna say, you have to do training, classes, and other things,
Yep,
yes.
Yep.
Now,
And-
whether going to, with the fire department doing the other stuff, whether that qualifies for that, I don't know. That's not my
I don't
department.
either.
It's not my department, I don't.
But I just know that would be one place. If you're
Yep.
not, I would look at using
Correct.
part of that as your,
Correct.
now my mouth.
It's like a
is
goodwill
going
service to the community
Yeah,
to provide.
there's a certain,
Yep, it's a goodwill service to the community, whatever, it's a,
plus,
It's an
we
in-kind-
also do in-kind stuff for the
it's an
ambulance.
in-kind service,
Because I
correct.
believe we do the snow removal and all that for the ambulance. We do not charge the ambulance for that for the city. So, I mean, there is some,
There's a give and a
Back
take,
and
back and
forth,
forth, which the
yes.
ambulance very much appreciates.
and I would never want to
Yep.
stop that or start charging for it or anything. I think
Correct.
that's a service we can do for the ambulance.
Yep.
But that has to be remembered also, that we are doing things in kind for the ambulance.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the answer to that is, I feel the ambulance board already addressed that, but that's, I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, for what I asked
Yep.
for, I cannot speak for any of these
Yep.
other people. What I asked for was the hard numbers. I will be totally honest, I don't appreciate the threat to the citizens.
No threat.
No, there was threats.
No, there's no threat.
That they weren't going to be getting service implied then, or perceived.
Okay.
I'll use the word perceived threat
Okay.
by some citizens. I mean, I want to do our fair share. I would be fine with 25,000, but that's me doing my math. You know, we weren't prepared to come here to make these decisions. It
No,
wasn't
and
on
I
the
understand.
agenda.
I understand
I
you.
just know it's what I asked
Yep.
for, so when I started getting information, I'll
Yep.
start doing my math and everything. These guys have not had a chance to do that.
Correct.
So I don't want to tell you guys what you need to vote for. But right now, I would be comfortable with 25.
Right.
I have a question. I'm sitting and listening to all this. What did, and I don't want to pick on, because I enjoy the Wheels Across the Parade. I go there a lot.
I enjoy it.
What did we give them for a donation?
$3,000.
Okay, did we get a financial report from them?
No,
How come?
I don't know.
How come?
We're not
If I
signing
could,
a
if I
Because
could
there's-
just comment on that, as a council's representative on the Wheels would be, I'm sure would be happy to provide a financial statement, but we were never requested.
That's the
I
question
don't,
I'm
like,
asking.
I kind of hate to see the Wheels Across the Prairie being dragged in as
Well,
I mean, it's
that wasn't my
kind of
intent.
comparing apples to oranges, it has, but
Whatever.
to your point, if a
It's still taxpayer money that we're
yeah, if a
giving to-
financial statement were requested, I'm only speaking for myself, but I wouldn't have any problem providing that.
I would like the Wheels Across the Prairie people to understand, I'm not picking on them, was reminded by citizens about that. So, don't
Right.
call me on that issue,
I-
that's not what I'm after.
As a board member, because I also serve on that board with Seth, I appreciate, and we appreciate any funds on it. I don't. And Dave Tiggs was a rep before that, before Seth. So I mean, I appreciate everything that they get too, but different book. Different book.
It was just pointed out to
Yep,
me, so I
Yep.
repeated what I was told.
Yep. I just, that's where I'm at. I can't as a one individual on the board say yes to 25,000. All I can tell you is the contract that we had presented way back months ago, and I'm sorry that this sheet was not given or whatever happened along the way. I figure we should have known about that months ago. We did not know about that until not too long ago. Whatever.
That isn't even true.
Could you take this $25,000 back to your board and see what they will say? I'd like to get this thing off the black. This is, it's going on and on and on. Let's get it resolved.
I don't have a problem. I want it solved because the last thing I want to do is keep hearing, I'm a nurse and I'm not supporting the ambulance. You know, I'm sorry. I support the ambulance. I provide staff for the transfers and everything. I cover call while they're on transfers. I go in to work if I need to. So it's not that I don't support the ambulance. It's because I just want the formula. And this, at the $75 a section, which does say 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm comfortable with that to get this moved forward so that people don't think we're not supporting the ambulance. I mean, I'm not a finance person, but we could sit here and finagle numbers till January 1st next year.
Exactly.
But I don't think that's any of our intent.
Nope.
But I think I would feel comfortable saying to the citizens, what we based it off was the percentage of the population. And that's then where we came up with this dollar amount.
Are you making a motion on that?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion. I don't want people to feel like
you
I'm forcing a dollar amount down your throats without doing your own figuring and stuff like that. I mean,
that's up to you as a council to act on it. The ultimate decision ranks with you 7 people. So you guys got to figure that out. That's up to you guys. All I can tell you is that I cannot accept that right now, because I cannot accept it as a single board member to do that. That's, period. No threat, no anything else, no perceived anything either.
Services are not changing, no matter.
Services will not
what we
change.
give for
We will
dollar.
come tonight or tomorrow or whatever date for the foreseeable future. Like I say, the lawyer, he said, I would really question, this is just not a good thing. And that's fine. I understand you have a PSA every service area, I get it. It's a bad position for us to be in without a
I
contract.
can't vote on this until we find out what the board says. I mean, we can throw this, we can make a motion on this money tonight, but I'm not happy with it until we find out if that's agreeable. And if it's not, then I guess we gotta go a different direction until we get it solved.
But do we have him take it to his board without knowing the council's going to approve it? I hate to have him go to his board and,
Come back and
Councilmember, if I can make a suggestion on a motion, you could move to offer $25,000 a year for 5 years pending their board's approval. And then if their board doesn't approve it, then it goes away. That's how I would suggest that you do it.
Sounds good.
Isn't the, Jeff, are you looking for a 5-year
We
agreement or
were
just
not.
one?
We were not.
Yeah.
As far as what I can speak for the board is we were not asking for a 5-year whatever. I appreciate the offer, I get that. I don't know, we'd gladly do a 2-year, but I don't know if we'll do a 5-year.
Whatever term it
I don't want to make a stumbling block, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't want to go back to my board and say, yeah, they agreed for that, but it's going to be for 5, and they're going to turn me down and go, no, I can't do
Jeff,
that.
if the ambulance board is really asking for 1 year, then I think that's what we should do, is make a 1-year offer, since that's what's requested.
It's not my place to throw, you guys got to put out yours, but if you do
I'm not going to do a 1 year, so I'm not going to make the motion then.
okay. But if you want to do a 1-year deal for $30,000, and then could we meet with 1 or 2 representatives from the city, somebody on your board or whatever else, and we would do the same with our ambulance board. You got 7 people and a whole bunch of other people that are wasting time back and forth here on 6 different meetings.
No, we are. 2 of you were. All 7 of us have.
And my board has also. But that's okay.
Well, a 1 year I think is ridiculous.
Yep.
Why do you
Because
say
it's
that?
like, because why would you do this all over again next year when you're just
Well,
bickering?
with a little luck, we'll have the numbers that the administrator requested.
No, Jeff has already said this is what he's going to give us. Or not him.
Going forward, my board had indicated that their indication was the statement of budget and everything. If it was good enough for the USDA, we had spoken with several other towns, several other cities. They do not ask for anything more than this.
I don't know why we are.
And I don't know why you would, but that's okay. I understand what Eric is saying, and I appreciate all of the other stuff that was put here.
What I'm saying is that I'm enforcing the contract that was signed by the mayor and the ambulance service 5 years ago.
That's no longer in place.
Well, it still is through 2021, so they still would have to,
2021's over.
but they have to give us the financials for 2021.
The information was requested last fall, via email. If you'd like a copy of it, I'd be happy to share it with you. But regardless, they were still obligated to provide that by the end of March. You don't have to request it. It's totally up to you. But at the end of the day, I don't want to make it sound like I'm the one that's requesting it, because I'm just enforcing the contract that you as a city council put together in the first place. That's all we're doing. So please don't shoot the messenger on that.
So going forward, we don't have to.
That's what I'm,
Decide we don't want to.
right, that's my next question. If you're moving forward, if you want to do a multi-year contract, do you want to include that this is the statement format, or whatever you want to call it, that's included with it?
But you could be sitting here, and I know you're not, but you could be sitting here with $3 million in replace equipment budget.
Right, and that'll
for
show
line
up.
item, and it's not going to be on here. Now, I know you're not sitting on $3
Right,
million.
exactly.
I'm just using that as
Yep, and I
as an
understand that.
example.
Yep, and I understand that.
But
I
that's
get it.
why I go back to, I'm fine with this, as long as we continue then to get this and that formula, so we are paying the same
Correct.
as the townships.
Right, on a per capita,
Yes.
per 100 people or 500 people, or however many per capita you want to figure it out at. Correct.
Yes.
Right. Like I say, when we had talked about it originally, that's why it was, instead of the 25,000, it was at 30. Because there was a lot of services that were done for the city that they're in kind. I mean, we don't bill the fire department, or bill the city if we go to whatever. It doesn't
I mean,
happen.
the events, that's more of a school thing.
Exactly.
I mean, to be at the wrestling
Yep.
tournaments and stuff like that, that's more of a school thing.
Yep.
And that's where I'm thinking you can use that as what you are doing as a nonprofit.
Correct.
That would help you maintain that status and
Correct.
everything. I guess I'm going to make a motion, and if it dies for lack of a second or anything, then that's what will happen. I'll at least start the ball game here.
Okay, let's go back and, Rick, what did you say before we do this? Well, you mentioned something about if we present a motion here, we can reverse it when the vote comes back.
Well, I think my suggestion was, did you make the motion that you make an offer pending, acceptance from the ambulance service? So that way, if they say no, then you could go back to it. I mean, ultimately, we'd have to bring back something in the form of a budget amendment, as I said, earlier, at a future city council meeting. But that's what I would suggest you do as the motion, pending acceptance from the board.
Jeff, does that seem fair to you? What Rick just said?
I will gladly present that to the board if a dollar amount is included and an expectation of what form you wish. 2 parts.
Just the one form is plenty good for me, as long as it has what we're looking for.
Profit and loss statement is what we were asked before. Statement of budget, income, and equity from the USDA.
Where do we get that per capita, though, number?
That's in the formula here. The formula is not going to change. It's been that way since 1972, but that's how it's always been figured out. So, that's how we've always tried to figure it out is from there on. So,
Yeah. Well, will the city council see that formula? Is that in that piece of paper you're holding up?
not in that one, but it's in this other one. I'm sure it can be provided. It should not be an issue. It's the same. It's been for 40-some years. So, yep.
Yeah. I'm not just asking.
Yep. Nope. That's how it was originally figured out way back. That's the same way it's done now. You got to figure out about how many people it is.
Jerry, on this motion that you're thinking about, is it going to include years?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. I think we need to, because that'll be part of what the ambulance is going to want, is we're saying this dollar amount for this many year contract. But I guess I wasn't prepared to say what forms. I'm not a financial guru to know how. I guess, because this form doesn't include it. Where I got the formula, the 75 was off of this.
Okay.
What form would we?
I don't know what the name of that form is, but the formula for doing that will gladly be
You would always share
included.
the formula of what you're basing your charges.
Yes, exactly. I would not foresee a problem. Like I say, I'm hanging myself out on a limb but I cannot. Why wouldn't we? I have no problem with that. I don't.
Well, I'll make a motion that we enter into a contract with the Tracy Ambulance for 3 years for a total of $25,000 a year, and that we require a statement of budget, income, and equity, and the formula for any increase, or the formula used for rates.
For the rate between the township and the city.
Yes.
Would that be the right say? statement, I
I
guess.
think as long as we both know what we're talking about, it's the formula,
Right.
like the $75.
Right.
And we would have to have the population, because that's what we have to go by, not so much a section, but
Correct.
the population.
Correct. Right.
You said 3 years.
I said 3 years.
Well, I'll second that so we can discuss it.
First and second, any further discussion?
Okay, I really feel like since the ambulance service asked for 1 year, we should make it for 1 year. And I believe also I would like to consider a second part or a second motion that we have a small committee, 2 people from the council, 2 people from the ambulance service, 1 good person from staff, need to discuss all of these other small issues and if nothing else to prepare for the next year's budget cycle. I made a comment at the January 6th meeting that I didn't think it was a very good format to have 12 people sitting around a table discussing all these intricate moving parts and finances and what all. And I kind of feel like I've been proven right with the discussion tonight. I appreciate everyone's good faith efforts, but I just feel like some of these details can be worked out and discussed more amicably and just better on a small committee basis. So that would be my suggestion going forward. But I am supportive of voting an amount now, whether 25,000 or 30,000 is the right amount. I can't say for certain, but I'm willing to support the 25,000, and I'm willing to look at numbers again moving forward on a committee level. It is not. I'm just convinced it is not good for our community to continue to have a standoff, if you want to call it, or an impasse on our ambulance service contract. So that's why I'm willing to support voting on some amount right tonight as a good faith effort on the council's part, and to affirm from the council's viewpoint that we support the ambulance services excellent service, and I want to assure the public that they're going to continue to have excellent service.
I want to say that I agree with Jerry, and I honestly think that in the future you probably don't need a committee, because if you use the same formula like that Jerry came up with that they're using for the townships.
I didn't come up with the formula.
No, I'm not saying the formula, but it's like how much it is, like for us using that formula. Why, I mean, if it's the same formula that the townships use and the same formula that we use, we shouldn't have any more discussion after.
It'd make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, so what Jerry came up with, then in the future, it's like, that's what it is for the townships, that's what it is for us. It's like, you don't have to go through all this. But I do think a 1 year is, I do think it should be more than 1 year.
But the ambulance service doesn't want a 3-year contract.
Well, it used to be a 5-year.
He asked for 2.
Can I address that in one sentence? Okay, prior to that, it was never a 5-year contract. That was brought up by the city, and that was offered at that time as a 5-year contract. Never before was that done. One at a time. All the way back from when your parents started it in 1972.
Well,
1 year at a time.
Thank you for saying that, because another reason why I
Yep.
don't like people thinking I don't support.
No,
the
absolutely.
ambulance is My parents were the founders.
I have a whole list of several rural and city ones, including Jerry Schoen's parents. Yep,
And again, we have to remember that the contract or agreement of 5 years ago was extremely unusual.
yes.
It was because the ambulance requested a 3-year commitment.
at that time, because we were gonna be replacing an ambulance at that time, and we were in a position where we didn't have the dollars to buy the ambulance, which we knew was gonna go up. And at that time, the city was very gracious and offered a 5-year contract, paid right away. So that allowed us at that time, which is 2 ambulances ago, but allowed us to update that ambulance at that time.
And you'd
And
requested
which we-
about $90,000, and the council gave 140.
Correct.
And that's why what set us at that new bar.
Yep, and that was over the
$28,000.
Correct.
And before that, it had been only
Higher than that, it was
14,000, so.
Right. No, and like I say, I'm appreciative of it, but all the way from 1972 until it was every year. And it had never come up as a big deal. 2001, we had a little hiccup. In 2007, we had a little hiccup in there. No big deal. Got it done before the first of the year. The contract was put in place. It was, whatever. Our little hiccup is we don't have a contract, so. Can I ask one more question? And I know I'm not on your board, but I'm asking this question, what comes to mind. If we go up next year, does your 25,000 go up? Or does it stay at 25,000 for 3 years, irregardless of if the townships go up?
Well, that's, I'm sitting here trying.
That's what I'm,
I need to see, and this is what's tough, is we were not prepared.
no, I.
To vote on this tonight.
Yep. I'm just throwing that out there as, because I know we had discussed that. So if we go up then, well, then that will change the contract amount from the city's portion of the contract. So whatever.
Just move this 1 year at a time then.
That's up to you, Seth.
Well, earlier you asked for 2 years.
I said we would be interested in doing a 2-year if you were at 30,000 per year.
Oh, I missed that part, sorry.
Oh, sorry. And if I didn't clarify that, I'm very sorry. Because then we would be interested, I know that Seth had brought that up before, because he'd brought that up on the 6th, was to get a couple representatives there. So we don't have the whole bunch eliminating that part, so.
I don't think we need any small committee if it's the same formula we're always going to use, so.
I guess I think that's a good idea. Use that formula. And you guys use that formula and give it to us, and there's no argument.
Yep. So is it the city's wish we still go to all the fire calls and do all the other stuff? That's where the other part come in there.
That's not our request.
That's also not in the contract.
Nope.
Service levels associated with ambulance service are not in the contract. This contract is only about how much money the city is going to give for how long. That is it. That is the only thing in this contract. So what they do with that money.
Now you just scared the citizens again.
No. I'm just asking. I'm not saying we're not going to do that. I'm not saying we're not in any interest to not to do that. I'm asking, is that a request or not a request or what? Because I know I'm going to get that from the townships.
Why should we have to request you to do that?
No, you're not going to request us to do that, but in the past, we've always provided that as a service. That's why when we had gone from strictly on the formula, that's why we'd added it, that's why we bumped it up to the 30,000 to cover those costs.
But do you not do it out in the townships? You don't go to the accidents and that
About
out there?
90% of our stuff is all within the city limits.
Yeah, but we don't go by percentage of calls. You're not,
Nope,
that's not.
nope, exactly, you're right. Nope, absolutely right.
It's only people.
I'm just basing the fact we're about 90% in the town.
If you go to a township fire,
Yep,
does the ambulance go with them?
yes.
Thank God.
I
think-
know, but
So
that's
why
what I,
It'd be the same for the city.
that's up to the ambulance, I guess, if that's what they want to do. I mean, other ambulances do it. I don't know what they do. I'm assuming it's some type of a service or whatever. But back, I didn't bring all my papers with, when we had different ambulances that were private, I do have it here, that aren't even subsidized by the city, they go to fire calls and accidents. And they get no money from the city. So, I mean, I don't think that's part of our responsibility to decide if they go to fire calls or whatever.
Yep.
I guess
no, that's fine.
that's your business
Okay.
to then respond to the citizens why you decided not to do it, because it should enter into how much we're charged being supporting you.
Okay.
But at the same time, Jerry, I think it's reasonable if we have a contract and the city is furnishing public dollars for that service to specify in the contract what the services are. And I would suggest that you just list what you have, the services you're providing now.
Right.
No, we don't have any.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it, council member. I wouldn't recommend it because this is their services that they provide. They're governed by state law.
Right. Yeah.
And we do not want to get in the way of determining what they provide or not provide. That's a state regulatory issue.
Okay, so you feel we're adequately covered without being specific?
They are obligated by
alright.
state law to provide the same service to every person in their service area, regardless if they live in the city of Tracy or anywhere else. They're obligated to provide that service if somebody has a car crash and they live in Canada and are on Highway 14 and somebody has to come through. It does not matter. This is only a contract for how much you're going to subsidize them. That is it. That's all this is. That's all this ever was. So,
Okay, so there's a motion on the table and a second.
Repeat the motion.
Well, I'm thinking of withdrawing it.
We'll do that too.
I'm thinking of withdrawing it because of the 3-year contract, length of contract or whatever. And see if somebody else wants to do a motion.
I do a one year for 25,000. I would make that motion.
And the required documents.
Required documents would be the, what is it called, the BOE, and then the calculation form for what it is per person.
And the only other, have to wait for discussion.
I'll second.
Was there a second? Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Discussion?
Yep, the only other thing I wrote down was about, never mind. Not even gonna go there.
So then, Jeff, you're taking this back to the board.
Correct, I will. Yep, that's fine. If we have a,
If we make this
Motion to
motion
go
today,
forward.
as Eric was saying before, this is not in concrete. Correct, Eric?
yeah, well, it won't be in concrete until there's a contract signed and then there's a budget amendment passed by the city council. Yeah, then it'll be in concrete.
can I ask one question on there first? And I don't know if you'll answer it or who will answer it, or if she will, somebody will. At one of the meetings, it was stated, and I don't know by who, if it was by Eric or somebody else, there was $60,000 left in the hospital fund that was there in the city budget, in the grand scheme, wherever. That money was still there, and that's where that would come from, so that it wouldn't have to change the city budget. Is that correct?
That's partially correct.
Okay.
There's $60,000 that is reserved.
Okay.
That could be used for this purpose. It is not appropriated for this purpose.
Okay.
So the city council would have to vote to appropriate it, which is essentially the budget. So we
Right.
have
Okay.
money that's sitting out there that's not appropriated by the city council to spend.
Yep.
Just like you have money sitting in reserve somewhere. And
Right.
so our recommendation would be that that $25,000 come from, the $60,000 that we have reserved in the hospital fund.
Okay, and the reason I asked it was because I had an individual that called me a couple weeks ago after the last meeting, and they had asked that, so.
Yep, that is.
Just to clarify, so everybody's on the same financial page.
If I'm right, it can be used for any health-related.
That's correct.
So we can,
Okay.
we can redo the bike trail.
Well, I'm just
next year.
asking because there'll be people out there that will ask me, they'll go, well, why did the city have to change their budget, or why did they have to do that? And I understand that it's a change, you have to procure that from whatever fund.
That's right.
But it's not that you're gonna have to go from 7 or 7.5% or raise your other levies to take care of this or
Well,
whatever.
keep in mind that,
Exactly.
$60,000 gets you a couple years at this rate, right? And so after that,
It'll go up next year.
so at that point, you've got to just, make some choices.
Okay, just a clarification. Just asking.
Well, I guess I would like to see us, if we ever get this hashed out, whatever that number is, we budget that every year, at least that much, to keep that fund kind of where it is for an emergency.
That's not really how that works, council member. The hospital fund is the money that's left over from the sale of the hospital. All but $60,000 of it that's left has to be spent at Sanford Hospital. And there's like $700,000 or something like that number in there. And so that's the only purpose for this particular fund, other than this additional $60,000. Once Sanford spends the rest of it, and that additional $60,000 is gone, that fund goes away. This money will then be coming out of the general fund, which is where your general taxes come from, your local government aid and stuff like that. And that's where the money came from previously, to the $140,000 contract for the 5 years. That's where that money came from previously. It came from the general fund.
So we can't budget every year 25,000 or whatever and keep it in that fund so that that fund maintains a $60,000 or $50,000 balance?
A budget is an appropriation. It's not a savings account. And so you don't budget savings. You budget spending. So if you want to not spend money, that effectively saves it. So let's say you bring in $50,000 more this year. You could reserve that or earmark that, as for a specific purpose if you wanted to by resolution, but you don't budget savings every year. It just happens by money you don't spend.
What you're saying is every year when we start the budget process, we'd have to look for like ambulance service, and we'd put a line out there for 25,000.
Well,
It's just in the budget. It's not a savings
Yeah,
type thing.
well, that's kind of what I...
Well, you would have to do that if you on a year-by-year basis, if you were going to give $25,000 to the ambulance service for sake of argument every year, yeah, you'd have to have a line item in the budget for that every year.
Yep.
But every year, you redo the budget, and so it's going to be a little bit different, every year. And so up to $60,000, that money can come out of the hospital fund. After that, it's going to have to come out of the general fund.
If I was to do anything on that, then I would like to say in August, if you can get some of these numbers to us so that by the end of the year, we got it done.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having it go into January and...
We need it quicker than that, council member.
Yeah, it's
We're
before
required
that.
to submit a preliminary budget to the state by the end of September. Our budget process starts much earlier than that. That's why the contract said they were supposed to give this to us by March 30th.
Okay, so there you go.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Was there a second on the motion,
Yeah.
Diane?
Yep, Seth did.
No, Seth seconded your motion?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Here, I guess we're ready for roll call. All right.
Can you repeat the motion?
1 year, 1 year, 25,000, the form that has to be turned in, and the calculation form. And it only goes through as long as everybody approves it.
And they will get us information by March.
If it's all possible to get it from our accountant and the USDA, yes. I
Well, your
can't,
other 5 here were all signed primarily beginning of February.
most of them in the past have been in February, yes. Yep.
So hopefully, I mean, you can't control government, but
Really?
Did these all just come from the accountant?
They're approved by the USDA.
Submitted to the USDA,
They're-
the accountant does them.
Yes.
Accountant does it, and
Yeah.
then they send it to the USDA, and then
That's
we get it
correct.
back.
Our board approves it before that information is released. As a nonprofit, yeah, so there's 2 parts. There's the USDA and the accountant. Our board approves it, then it's released. So, if that makes sense.
So as soon as you get your taxes back, we're gonna go back over this and get it done. Correct?
For next,
For next
this
year.
is for now.
Yeah. Because what you're voting on, if I'm correct in what you're assuming, is the contract for 2022.
Yes.
That is the contract for this year, stating from the first of the year till December 31st, 2022.
Correct.
Okay.
Let her rip.
Hey, any more?
We're already past that point.
I know.
No, well, we're done. Let's go.
Okay. Roll call, please.
All right. Teigs,
Aye.
Putman,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Tell, Jones,
aye.
Landig,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
That would be your proclamation.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. As a council, I truly do. I appreciate that. It is good. Like I say, your parents were on there as some of the original ones in 1972 who did that, which is wonderful. That's
I could never
good.
be on my phone at home because they had to have the phone open for calls.
Exactly.
I couldn't talk to my friends.
See how good that was to be offline? No, thank you. I will take this to our board. Can you, okay, just as a question, can you approve this? Your next meeting's like in 2 weeks, or when is the next meeting? I guess that's 3 weeks?
3 because we have 5.
Yeah, 5
Oh, yeah, 'cause there's
Monday.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, 5 Mondays in there or whatever? or-
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, sweet.
I like chocolate.
Sweet. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Jeff?
Yep.
Okay, so January 23rd to the 29th is called School Choice Week, and I have a proclamation that says, so, as the mayor of Tracy, I would like to read this to you. Whereas all children in the city of Tracy should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas the city of Tracy recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing our students in the city of Tracy to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of the city of Tracy, and whereas the city of Tracy is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools for which parents could choose for their children in addition to families who educate children in their homes. And whereas educational varieties not only help to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrance of our community. And whereas the city of Tracy has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of schools settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for the effective educational options. Now therefore, I, Pamela Corman, Mayor, do hereby recognize January 23rd through the 29th of 2022 as a City of Tracy School Week Choice, and I call the observance to the attention of all the citizens. Okay, we're moving on to new business. I know, the way
Mayor, we just have some quick resolutions tonight. The first one is a gambling permit. And on these gambling permits, you've got more details in front of you as far as what they are. Returning our youth outdoors. Diane, can you provide the information about this particular item in terms of what you received?
Yes. So, this was established last fall, or last spring, as a formal group. And it is an effort to get youth out hunting and fishing and doing outdoor activities versus staying in, playing on the PlayStation, that kind of thing. This group is also going to provide several different contests for youth. Looks like 2 youth fishing contests at Swift Lake Park. And kids will be fed hot dogs and chips at this event. And the funds raised through this raffle will be used to buy bait, prizes for contests, cover the organization's insurance costs and expenses of the event.
Are you a part of that, sir?
Yes, I am.
What a great thing.
It has been fun.
How big is the group? That like the
committee?
Organizing committee.
I'd say there's over a dozen of us
Okay.
that work at this. Yeah, we have our 501c3, and we got incorporated, so we're kind of looking to do when DU fell off, and then they had Minnesota Waterfall. This is kind of some of those people that wanted to keep working towards getting our youth active in hunting and fishing and outdoor activities and stuff. And so we're looking to do that style of banquet coming up in the spring, and we need a gambling license in order to raise funds to help support our organization.
I'm gonna make the motion. Resolution number 2022-12.
Second it.
First and second, any discussion?
Roll call, please. Towle.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Whitman.
Yes.
Teagues.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Aye.
So,
He's an abstainer.
Yeah, just indicate for the record that Councilmember Landit left the room.
Okay.
I would put that in the minutes
Okay.
before the vote. Thank you, Mayor. The next item is just a
Thanks, Jason.
What a great thing.
The next item is just a donation that we received from the Tracy United Fund for the Aquatic Center, and so we're just, voting to accept that money, and that money will go to support the pool during the summer.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-13 to accept the donation from the Tracy United Fund.
Second.
First and second, any discussion?
I'd like to suggest that the pool management consider using this money to help kids who maybe can't afford to take swimming lessons, maybe defray some of their expenses, and maybe buy some sunscreen for kids that come there all day and don't have any.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
With that, roll call?
Jones.
Aye.
Towle.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Teagues.
Aye.
Landay.
Accepting money for the pool.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
The next item, Mayor, is a cleanup from a discussion from a couple weeks ago. The Salstroms were here asking for a reimbursement of some penalties, and I'm going to let Krista explain this item since she was sick the last time and I didn't have all the information.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, following that last council meeting with the Salstroms, I received a copy of the information that Melissa had sent over, and then asked Krista to pull some more documentation for me regarding what kind of happened back when they purchased the property. I came across an email communication between Krista and Melissa that did lay out or tell Melissa that the repair bill needed to be paid off before they could transfer the water service into their name, which is incorrect information. That is not our process. Typically in that situation, we would final bill that amount to the previous owner. If they don't pay it, then it gets certified to the county. We would never, we don't stop somebody from putting water into their name because of a previous owner's past due bill. Given that information that I was able to obtain, I am going to recommend that we waive the penalties of $420.59 that were accrued on that account. Obviously, the Salstroms back at that time were trying to get the account switched over into their name, and due to misinformation, they were unable to. So that is my recommendation on that at that time. The bill that was outstanding for November services is still theirs because they did purchase the property in November. So I would still like to have them pay that, as well as the balance due on the water line repair bill. It says in our city code that stays with the property, so it would have become their responsibility either way.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-14 to reimburse the Salstroms on the penalties that were accrued.
First and second, any discussion?
Where are we at with this? We continue to have this issue. Is there a way we could solve this? I know at one time Jeff had said that the real estate people cannot do that. If I buy property and there's something against it, how can that owner get this information?
So we do receive requests from title companies asking if there are outstanding utility bills. Not all of them do it, and I don't believe they're required to from a real estate standpoint. We have updated our procedures now so that we are contacting when there is an ownership change. We are contacting the old owner sooner and after their final bill to make sure we collect on that. But we do let the new owner know as well that there is a final bill, just so you know if it doesn't get paid, it will be certified to your property so that they can be more proactive in getting that taken care of.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sal. Landick.
Aye.
Teagues.
Aye.
Whitman.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
Last item is a gambling permit for St. Mary's, and Diane, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, so this is a raffle that St. Mary's does every year. It's covering 3 different dates throughout the year, so they're having the approval done all at one shot. Something that St. Mary's does on an annual basis, and raffle to raise money for the church.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-15.
I'll second it.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Whitman.
Yes.
Howell.
Aye.
Landick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Teagues.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
That's all we have, Mayor.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I want to stay here all night.
Somebody second it.
Somebody second that. First and second, any further discussion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
I wonder what Jason was like.
I wonder too.